Hello. So, somebody posted on Reddit here this visual apricot 6023 posted this thing about making a genius, and I don't know what a genius is, or I didn't know what a genius was. But so they looks like part of the code is in Portuguese, but it's Pygame and pretty straightforward. Anyway, I asked him what it thought. It looked like it might be a menu or something like that. You're clicking on buttons here. And he said, nope, or they said, no, is a game with 4 buttons. It draws a button and it changed the color. You have to memorize it and press the button in the right order. He's from Brazil, or they're from Brazil. I don't know if there is a game elsewhere. So yeah, it's called Simon here in the United States. I think that's the official name, and it does say that it's down here at the bottom. It does say that well, somewhere in here it says the word genius. Yeah, it says Simon Genius in Brazil. So anyway, that's the game. So I have their code, and I said I would take a look at it, but I think the answer is it's a little harder. It's not a quick response. So I thought I'd just fire it up, and I loaded it into Pygame here. So let's see what we have. Oops, that's the wrong way. All right, so we have a. Oh, I guess I need to install Pygame, don't I? How do you do that? Yeah, install package Pygame. I'm happy to do that. Yep. Just ask me for permission. All right, so we're good. Let that install for a second. Wow. Okay, I think my screen is not kind of lined up here, right? All right, well, whatever. So anyway, install package failed. Well, that's annoying. How about we just open up PowerShell, and we'll just say pip install Pygame. You know what? Pygame might be a. Never mind. I was going to say it might be one of those games that, or one of those things that requires a binary, but that loaded just fine. All right, so we have so we ran it. It runs, and the complaint is that it doesn't do anything. So. So let's see. So the actual complaint is the problem is that for some reason, sometimes the game simply stops working. You can either press the sorted numbers for 12 times, or it'll stop working on the second try. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. So I think this is the. I don't know if you can see that. Make that bigger. I don't know how to increase the font size down here. View. Well, in any case, it's printing out a list with the number 4 in it. So I think that's the actual pattern that you have. So let's see. Let's just read the code real quick. So we've got a class called button. So normally you would not put those there. That's the superclass, and then normally you would capitalize this. So if you autocorrect this, it'll rename element. Then that it renames all the other pieces. Okay, so we've got the other instances of that. Anyway, So Pygame is a game engine that runs inside the you write your own main loop. So it's not like a framework. It's just like a library for displaying. It's a wraparound SDL basically. So we create a window, or they create a window. Pygame set caption to genius. Okay, have a button that has a class. It's got a color, X, Y, width, and height. Okay, so just a rectangle basically. We can draw it by drawing a rectangle. And if the outline is set to true, so outline is none or true, then we draw it on the window, and there we go. What's wrong with this? Shadow's name wind from outer scope. Yeah, that's true, but that's fine. And then is over is the mouse. So basically, does it contain this point? Okay, so this is like, does it contain the mouse position, and then whatever. Okay, so we have all the buttons. So blue, I guess green, cyan, and whatever otro is. So we run that. I guess that was at yellow maybe. Okay, so we got blue, yellow, green, and cyan. Redraw the window is fill the screen with white, and then draw the buttons. Run is true. Ordem is seems to be the pattern that we have to do. So we run sortear or whatever, and then that gives us the pattern. And so here, we've got the pattern. Okay, so this is our pattern is the number 4. And then here's the loop. So all of that is fine. I might reorganize the lines a little bit, but all that's fine so far. I would never say while run equals true. I would always call it running. I never do the equals true, equals true. And then usually I would, I won't pick on your English because you're it's not a native English speaker. I would say running while running. Anyway, but Pygame display update. Okay, so we draw the screen, redraw the window. All right, and then for event in Pygame event get position equals Pygame mouse get position. Okay, so here's the mouse position in this, and if event type equals Pygame quit, then we break. Oh yeah, so I would probably put all this stuff in like a function. It doesn't matter. All this is acceptable. It's fine. It's a little messy, but that's you can always clean it up later. This is not important, but you can say elif here, and that way, if it's not going to be both a quit and a mouse button down, so you might it's just you should. This is a else if here, right? Okay, so then if it's a mouse button down, now this is the part I don't like. This is messy. Okay. So the first thing is that you have the same code repeated over and over and over again. So whenever you have the same code repeated over and over again, you want to extract it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to say refactor extract method or extract function, right? Well, there's no function. There's no extract method. There's extract function though. This is a method that's not on an object, so it's a function. All right, so we want to well, that's annoying, isn't it? Because you should have parameters in here. Okay, so anyway, so basically what we want to do is we want a function that, I'll just copy it myself. Because, okay, the things that change between this are the number, the string here, and then that's it. So really this should be, test button or something like, check button or something like that. So 1 and then, and then blue button, right? So blue button, and then boa. All right, and then check button 2, and then this is. I would definitely use a consistent naming scheme for this, but whatever. So that's the yellow one. 3, and then 3 is, I believe that is the word for green. So we'll put that there. Yeah, sometimes you can just extract a method, and it would detect that these are the things that changed. But anyway, and then Ciano. All right. So, and then we will say. Well, really, we don't need to pass this in here. We can say. All right, so this is like the expected button. So the correct button, like so correct. How about next step equals, and we're going to call this. So you never have to call this function. You should do this. All right, so this says get the last item out of the ordem, whatever. Ordem, I guess, is the word for the sequence, right? So then we can say, rather than calling check button, we can say button and label is equal to, and then we're going to use a dictionary. So for each one of these, we'll just replace that with a, how do you do that? I think you say, normally I just use Emacs, and I think you click Alt, you Alt click to make an extra cursor, and then we'll go over here, and then we will say, that's weird, that's not what I wanted. And go to the end of the line, backspace, all right, and then, there we go. Except that's not actually what I wanted. We want to go indent and then delete that, and then delete these, put commas at the end of them. And so now we have a dictionary here. There we go. Okay. Okay, so mapping is equal to this, and then button label equals mapping next step. Okay, and so then we can just say if button is over position, and I'm going to call this BTN just in case the person using it, because they were using the word button. You should always use a uppercase letter for a class. That's like there's this thing called PEP8 that has like a standard way of describing like conventions for how to format your Python code, and that's one of them. But like I don't always agree with PEP8, but that's like a universal thing. If you have a class, it should almost always start with a capital letter, whereas a variable or a function, wherever, starts with a lower letter. Anyway, so but they were using the word button with a lowercase, so rather than override that, I'm just going to call it BTN over here in case they, whatever, in case they use this code or trying to apply these changes themselves. I'm going to show this video to them. That's the whole point. So if button is over position, then so I'm copying this, right? So rather than doing all this duplicate stuff, we only need one copy of it now. We've replaced this with this, and so now we've selected which copy to use based on this mapping, and so now we can just say if button is over position, then print label, and then call sortear or whatever. Otherwise, we print error, errado, and ordem clear. Okay. Run is already true, so there's no need to do that. That's redundant. So here is the code as it is, how it should work. And let's just double check I haven't broken anything. So run that again. Everything's fine. Okay. Next step is ordem -1. Okay, so the reason this is happening, which has nothing to do with anything I've changed, this is in there from the start. It's because you're clearing it. So that's what's causing it to crash. So let's save this. So hopefully you would use version control. I don't know if they are, but I like to use version control. So let's. I checked this out to a Git repository. So git diff. I checked in their original code. So I'm just gonna call this git commit -m refactoring. Clean up code a bit. Refactor the code a bit. Okay. Oops. Main.py. And I didn't say where I was checking this out. I'll put it up on Git when I'm done. GitHub when I'm done. And in fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. Let's move this down here. These are global, so this doesn't matter. I'm wasting time. But okay. Yes, all of these errors or notices are coming from PEP8. This thing has a PEP8 checker in it. So Pygame, that's coming because it thinks Pygame's not installed, but it is because we installed it and it just didn't update that. Yeah, let's move this inside of main, make it a subroutine of main. All right, so go ahead and do pygame init. All the stuff that was originally at the top, put it back at the top. Redraw the window. And then all right, and let's change this to Refactor rename running. So while running, do all this. And really, just so it's like this again, not important, but this is just like to help make it. What? it's just hygiene, right? I don't know what I'm trying to say here. So I want to put the game logic in its own little space. So you might ask, why am I wasting time on this, right? I guess it's because the code is, the cleaner your code is, the easier it is to understand. And so doing this actually helps me to understand what's going on here a little bit. And the more I do this, the more familiar I am with what's going on in the code. Okay, yeah, so that's fine. So now we say self button, self, and then we'll even say self.win. So we'll say self, you pass in a window, and so we'll say game equals game with the window. Boom. Okay, and then self win is going to be win. Win, and that's that. Then this needs a self, and when we say redraw window, we will say game redraw window. Presumably, it's going to play the animation, right? So yeah, we want this to be this. So oh, I see. I see why they're redrawing on every step. Okay, so they want to draw the sequence, right? And so then self sequence is equal to self sort. What's the word they use? Oh, okay. I'll use their word. Or ordem, whatever. I don't know what ordem means, but I'm presumably that's Portuguese. But so self ordem equal, or we'll just say self sortier. You kind of want the I don't know, something like that maybe. It doesn't, yeah, Pepe doesn't like semicolons, but whatever. So this is not what you want probably. All right, so this is, generate the sequence to the sequence that you have to replicate. Okay. And so this should be self. Ordem. Really, it should be that's where you'd want to start that, and then you don't need to give this a name. Boom. There we go. Okay. This is self.win. I've got a self above me too, a little red squiggly line above me. Self.win. Self.win. All right, so self.ordem. Okay. All right, so too many blank lines. See, it's stupid things like that, and it gets on my nerves sometimes. All right, so we don't need this. This is now in the constructor, so that's already taken care of. We don't need this. All right, so now we have a mapping between these. So rather than doing randint 1 to 4, I'm just going to say randint 4. And then, is that not? Well, that's stupid. We're going to do 0 to 3. And really what we're going to do here, rather than saying self blue button and whatnot, we're going to say self.buttons equals, and then we're going to say, we're going to give them these labels. So so we don't have to explicitly pass in the 1, 2, 3, 4 because we're using a list instead of a dictionary here. So using a list, we have the implicit labels 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to say blue button is going to be button, and we're going to call it boa. Presumably boa is Portuguese for keys to English. I bet if I say boa in here, boa. Good. Oh. Azul. Okay. So we're going to call this buttons are azul. So it's going to be mad because the button doesn't take a name. But otro. I bet that's yellow. Other. I don't know which one I want. Amarela. Amarela. And then verde. See, you want your naming to be consistent. Like if that's what you're. Oh, so I did the wrong colors here, didn't I? Though. So this should be this one. So let's copy that. Boom. Amarela. Let's do this one. We should copy the whole thing. So Ciano, Cyano, I don't know. Clearly it's cyan in my language, and then verde. So blue, yellow, green, and cyan. All right, and then I've ended the list here, so that's that. And we don't need these anymore. Okay. So now we say for button, or for B in self buttons, B draw on self win. Okay. So that gets rid of a lot of code. Same here, this can go away now. And so then, so button is equal to game buttons given the next step. I don't like that it's -1 there. You really prompt the first one, which is 0, but we'll do that in a minute. It doesn't matter. It's one item. -1 and 0. -1 is the last item. 0 is the first item. So since there's only one item, it's the same thing. But well, I'll just put it at 0. And then so now if button is over position, then print button.label. Button.label, and then game this again. All right, and so now buttons don't have labels, but that's what I'm passing in here. So that's what I want to say is self init is going to have a label in it. Label, so self label. is equal to label. All right, I feel like this is, all right, why is this complaining? Simplified chain comparison. Oh yeah, so Python has this nice thing where you can do when you're between two things, you can say like let's see, self x is in between these things, so you can actually just remove this. Yeah, you can just remove this. I was thinking that maybe I could simplify this part of the expression as well, but this seems pretty. And so now there's probably enough room here that you could say and here if you wanted to. All right. So and return true. It doesn't like that. Again, for formatting reasons. So whatever, I don't care. All right, so then by default we return false. All right, so yeah, so all I wound up actually changing there was the indentation is not a multiple of 4. There we go. Where's my diff here? So you can say VCS enable version control integration. Let's get, okay, so now we should be able to see the difference where I've actually changed it. Yeah, that's another reason to use version control. You can see, you can review your changes and not have to remember what you changed. This is probably mad we don't have too many blank lines. Usually it'll complain that it doesn't have a doc string as well. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and line these all up. It'll get mad about that too, but whatever. All right. Okay. All right, so as far as I know, I've left everything the same. So let's try it, running it again. Still works. All right, so I should be doing number 2, so 0, 1, 2. That's fine. Oh wait, now it's 3. 2, 2, 2, 0. And then if I do the wrong one, oh, it says errado now. But it was crashing, and the fix was, the only thing I've actually changed in the behavior is commenting out this line. Everything else is just refactoring here. We could refactor this a little bit more, and in fact, I'd like to. So yeah, okay. So in fact, we could even put this as a parameter here, and not even have to store that on the game state. So now we just have a generic. So we have logic here, and we do have something about the idea of a button, but it's not. So now it's mad because of the convention, it wants it to be like that. But I'm going to even just call it redraw. And let's put the, so rather than passing it in here, we have a new game, and then we're going to call it redraw, and we pass it the window. So I guess what I'm kind of shooting for here is like, now all of this is the Pygame stuff, Pygame specific stuff. Whereas, except for this little part, which I haven't moved in yet. The logic is all, game redraw, game. It's all inside the game class. It just, again, not important, but now we have, it's easier to make changes when you have less duplication. I lost my mic there. I dropped my mic. So if you only have one copy of things, then it's a little easier when you have less duplication. All right, so let's check this in. More refactoring. So extract a game class. All right. So this person is obviously learning to program. So I don't want to just give them the answer. So I think, however, I'm. I don't want to do someone's homework for them. So time is so they could do the sleep here, Tony. Well, I don't know. I don't know if this is a homework project or so. I'm gonna make this program. So if you're doing if this is your homework and whatever you think about the ethics of this, because if it's for fun, then by all means, here's how I would do it. I don't want to steal the thunder, so stop now if you don't want spoilers, I guess is what I'm really getting at here. All right, so the actual question was, what is wrong with this code, right? So I think the answer is that was that this clearing was causing a problem, and then they were saying -1 here, and even 0 here. If you put a clear here, well, there's nothing in there, so there is no item 0. So that's going to be the problem, and so then that's going to break. Yeah, so immediately we broke. Oh, ordem is not defined, so that's not actually the problem. But if it was, now it's moved here, we would get a different error that it wants 3, so cyan. And if we clicked on this one, then we should get errado. And then the next time around, we get the index out of range because we cleared it. So we don't want that. So I guess the idea is that if you get the thing correct, then if you get the entire sequence correct, then you should get a new sequence, and so then you print or whatever. I see. Okay. So. So clearly, this is wrong. You don't want to clear it out. That's not something you ever want to do. But what you do want to do is see the whole logic of this is you need to think through what the logic is. So what we do is we have you generate the sequence. It's going to play the sequence. All right, so here's how. So the game should have two states. So we're going to say state. So states. Oops. well, let's call it state like what would you call the first one? Like the demo, right? Like when so it's going to play the sequence up front. So playing, right? No, okay. Let's just. All right. So self playing equals false. Sorry, false. I've been used to Godot, so we have false here with capital letters. I hate that the little the fact that I'm breaking the PEP8 makes it mad, right? So self playing equals false. So playing is going to be the flag that says whether or not it is currently playing its the initial sequence. So the first thing we want to do, rather, you never want to do time sleep when you're in an event loop. Although, like nothing else is going on the screen right now, so I guess this is okay. Normally, you would redraw the screen on each tick, and then you would keep track of the time between ticks. But okay, so yeah, I guess okay. If we're doing that way, if we're going to do it with time sleep, which is going to lock up the system, so it won't be able to press buttons or anything like that. That's fine. So we're going to say game play demo. All right. Or play sequence. And just to keep it simple, I really think, yeah, I feel kind of weird doing this, but play sequence. So we'll just say note. This locks up the whole UI, the whole user interface. It would be much more usual to to set up to have a frame, have a to render to call and update function on an individual frame with the time between frames as a parameter, but whatever. Okay, so the idea being that we'll just call it like new sequence. I really don't like doing this. I feel like I should be doing it the other way, but I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. Now I've misspelled the word sequence. All right, so here we want to. So rather than doing this append thing, we would say this for x in length levels in level. So we'll say level equals 3. generate the sequence. Level is how many steps, or how, we'll just call it n. Generate a sequence of n steps. So now we don't have to do this append thing, so that just generates the list for us completely. And in fact, we actually can start with this. We don't have to call this. We'll call it in here. So let's call a new sequence. Yeah, well, whatever. So this actually creates a new sequence. So yeah, we'll say new sequence, and then we'll call that. So yeah, and this is an n. This is range n. All right. So self. I should look up what that means. I assume it means sort, but what happened to my translator? Yeah. Oh, draw. Draw as in like generate a sequence, maybe? As in like draw cards, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. All right. So all right, so now we're going to, instead of printing it, let's move that here. We'll go ahead and continue to print it, but now we can also do, so new sequence. Did I ever check my code in? I don't think I did. No, I did, yeah. All right, so new sequence, and then when we do the new sequence, well, okay, I'm going to move this down here. Okay, so you know, I'm just going to get rid of the word, or I don't know what this means. Or sorry, n equals 3. So I'm just going to rename this whole function. Okay. All right. So sorry about that. So I'm going to name so. All right. So while running new sequence. My daughter's awake behind me. Right, so what was happening here before was that you would get the new sequence, right? If you click the right button. But that's not what we want. And in fact, this is not what we want either. So really what we want to say is for be in game buttons, hey sweetie, if B is over position, then game click I, and I is IB in enumerate game buttons. All right, game click I, or game, you know, press button I. Okay. So enumerate gives you the index. So this is going to give you the 0, 1, 2, you know, 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to loop through all of them and see which one has got clicked. All right. So then this now becomes part of the game object. All right. So def, what do I call it? Press button. Yeah. press button self and then I. So if the button is pressed, the nice thing about doing it like this is that you could write test cases for this, and so now you can write a thing where you create a game, you create a new sequence, and then you call press button 1 or 2 or 3, whatever, and it should work. You don't even have to have the Pygame running to test your logic or whatever. Okay, so here game is self. So let's call this game, and then we will rename it, and then the refactor rename self, and so that way it updates it all for me. All right, so press button I. All right, so when we create a new sequence, self, what do we call it? Index is equal to that's it. -1. How about we call it self next step equals 0. All right, so we'll say next step equals 0. Self next step equals 0. I just whenever I put something in the on the object itself, I want it to be part of the constructor. That's just something I've always done. So the members of this are easily identifiable. And I'm sorry, I'm going to call this sequence. I know you're Portuguese or you speak Portuguese, but so feel free to rename it. Okay, so we have a new sequence that generates a sequence and it sets the next step to 0. Yeah. Then we can print it if we want to. Okay, so then, and we're going to return this, return self sequence. All right, so we've already done this logic about if it's over it. So we said if B is over the position, so we went through all the buttons, and if it is over, then we press the button. So now we're just saying we press the button. So next step is, okay, so so now we say you've pressed the button. So we say if self next step. Do we need? Wait, let me just see. Do we need any of this? We don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. So yeah, we can do that if we want. All right. So print self print pressed and then self buttons I label. All right. So first we're going to print that. So let's just make sure that works, and then we'll get back to this. All right, so run it. All right, and so that it's printing things like crazy. So we're in a loop. That's not right. Game redraw in. So we'll say new sequence right up here, and we'll take that out of the loop. All right, so now we've got 2, 2, 2, so 0, 1, 2, so it should be 2, 2, 2. But we are no longer checking whether it's right or not. Okay, so what we should do to check whether it's right is we say if I is equal to self next self sequence self.next step. So at the very start, we're at 0. So we're looking at sequence 0. And if we hit the right button, then self next step is plus equals 1. And then if self next step equals length of the length of self sequence, print U1, and then self new sequence. And then we'll say, let's just say, self level equals 1. And instead of n here, self level. So we'll start with 3. We'll start with 3 still, but we'll use self level to figure out how many are in the sequence. Self level plus equals 1. So add 1 to level, make it harder. And then if we got it right, say we won. How about we say you? Let's you won. All right, so we'll say voce ganhao. Hope that's right. And then, let's just say correct, because you didn't really win the game. You just correct. Correcto. Correcto. Sorry. If the self next step is equal to the so if I see. Wait. Yeah. All right. So here's where on each step we will say whether it's correct or not. Correcto. And then if we get to the end, we say we won. All right. So and then. All right. But so then back to this one. If it is not, else. If it is not the next step, if the button that we pressed is not the next step, then print errado. And then we would say, so we want to say play demo. So we're going to show it again. Self play demo. Well, okay, let's say self play demo, and we're going to make this play demo. So we're not actually going to do this, or I might. We'll see. Self play demo is this. So for now, to play the demo is just print it out. So arado, and then play the demo again. So now you do this, and then we will. And when we play the demo, we also want to say self next step equals 0. So we go back to the start. I think that's it. All right, so 003, 003. Prestiano. So let's see, pressed. Pressed button. We can make it a format string, right? Press button. How do you do format strings? I think it's like this, right? Press button I, and then we'll do whatever. That's fine. Oh, my little girl's waking up, so I gotta go in a second, but that's okay. I'm just about done. You want to play some Simon? Some Genius? All right. Press button number. Oh, what did I say? $0? Oh, you don't need the $. Okay. All right, so this should be, so I'll press the wrong one. That's, so error pressed 0. Okay, so we want 0, 1, 2, so it should be 2. That's correct. And then 3, that's correct. And then 1, and that's correct. So why is that? Print expected button number, and then which would be self sequence self dot next step. So let's say expect is equal to this. And then we can say expect down here. And this should be a F string to make that work. All right, so run it again, stop and rerun. So 3, 0, 2. Expecting button expect at step self next step. I'm not sure what's going on there. All right, so we can get rid of this, and let's, I guess we can restart it down here. All right, so 1, 3. Am I getting multiple mouse events? Yeah, I think so. All right, so restart. So 3. Ah, okay. It's getting all the buttons. So my test for the buttons is not working correctly. If B is over position, so we only care about that if it's this. In fact, we don't even need a name for this. All right, so if B is over that, position 0 is greater than X and self. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I screwed this up completely. It's yeah, you want it like this. Yeah, so that's so you want the position to be greater and then like that. Yeah, so I completely missed that while I was silly. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so restart it, and then 0. This should be 2, 2, 2, and I 1. Okay, so now we got a longer one, and so I'm going to make it wrong. Errado. And so it restarted. Yeah, that's right. So we should continue. You know, I should start over. So now if I press, so if I'm going to press number 1, 1, and then I make a mistake, and I have to start over again. So 1, 1, 2, 0, and now I have a longer one. Okay, so that's great. So get status, get diff main.py. So check the buttons, check button patterns. Yeah, or check the input pattern. Main.py. Okay, so then I would say like here. So so the only other thing, other thing I wanted to do was say it was to draw the sequence up front. So basically, yeah, my daughter's waking up though, so I'm just not going to do that. Anyway, so there's Simon and or Genius, and hope that was helpful to somebody out there.